So, hello, welcome to ACM's seventh journal meeting of the semester. This is week 8, so 7 makes sense. Um, this week we will be having a nice talk from David Twadilla. Say hi, David. That David. On web development. And we're also going to have these nice SFS students, Scholarship for Service students, come and tell us about SFS. But first, going to update you on some ACM stuff and things that will be happening shortly. First things first. We're gonna have a board game night. Chris can actually talk about the board game night. I'm gonna You're completely board game night. Just hold it.
All right, so as everyone hopefully knows, this Friday night we have a board game night, 6 p.m., 5029. Everyone's invited. We're not really doing food or drinks, so we don't have any issues with ruining the boards and the board games. And it's just ideas to come hang out, have some fun, increase your network. It's really important to get your network of friends going, especially after you graduate. That's it, and have fun. Question. About 9. But I'm assuming it'll just carry over.
So this is the first event being put on this semester by our shadows. So this is one of our shadows this semester. Thank them for this event happening. The next thing is also something that Chris can talk about.
Oh yeah, that one's me.
It's
All right, so Juan Chang, he's asked me to see if I can find 6 students who are interested in participating in the General Electric and CSU Fullerton competition, which is it's called the GE Innovation Challenge. You're supposed to develop a software application using GE's cloud-based Predix platform. Topics will be IoT and campus sustainability. There'll be a team of 6 who will represent Sac State. Teams will receive $10,000 in funds to be distributed by the faculty sponsor, a total of $25,000 in prizes. The webinar training starts next week. So if anyone is interested, email him ASAP because he wants to finalize the teams by tomorrow. He's what else? He's also looking for essentially juniors and seniors, but if there's any freshmen or sophomore who actually have project/team experience, you're still welcome to apply. You'll just have to send him some credentials and prove it. That's about it. And if you have any questions, go ahead and email him. Ask him anything. Shaw? 6. I think we're only shooting for one team. Oh, okay. So Shaw was asking how many people can be on a team. Team of 6. And you had a question? What is it? It's a really good question. It's General Electric's Innovation Challenge. Their goal is to actually get a team of 6 to develop campus sustainability through their Predix platform software. So the idea is they're going to train you on how to actually use Predix platform, and that training starts next week, which is, I guess they're going to use webinar to train. But I think the idea is to come up with a solution through hardware and essentially software to actually. Last semester, it was the team that won came up with a software system that micromanaged electricity on the campus, so they'd stop wasting electricity. So the runner-up was wastewater system, where they were trying to not waste water if they didn't need. So their goal was like if they detected enough moisture, they wouldn't water. If they didn't detect enough moisture, they also would they'd water, but they also calculated through gathering data nonstop when's the best time to water, so it was most effective. So I guess this year though they're shooting for campus sustainability, and that kind of includes all of that. But I'm assuming that means basically independence. The best bet is to them to handle everything on their own as opposed to pay outside sources. Any other questions? All right. But yeah, email them by tomorrow.
Oh, so this is the last thing before SFS comes up here to talk. So sometime in latter half of April, we're going to be having a speaker from the NSA, not come here, but sort of, I believe he's remoting in, right, Sasan? He's gonna do something to the effect of Skyping in and give us some explanation of what the NSA does, how to get involved, things like that. And we can't just ask him questions at the event because we need to kind of prepare them because lots of confidential information and whatnot. So anybody who has questions for him and about the topic, we want those. Can you give us those questions ahead of time so we can provide him the list of questions so he can prepare his answers? Did not put a contact email up here, but basically email any of the official ACM contact emails. You can find them on our website, or talk to any of the officers with the questions, and we can get those noted down so we can start preparing the list. Any questions about that, real quick? No, it's Tom Lehrer. He's the CSUS liaison contact person for the NSA and the CIA. I think it's Lehrer. I forgot his last name now. Anything else? Nope. Okay. So next thing is the SFS people. Here's them. I'm gonna take a second to put up their PowerPoint.
All right, hello. My name is Eric Klenner. I am a member of the Scholarship for Service SFS program, and this is...
My name's Cameron, and I'm also a member of the scholarship program. I was one of the first people when the scholarship was first renewed on this campus. I was part of the first group to join the program.
All right, and we're just going to give you a brief, what is the Scholarship for Service program, as we call it, SFS. So, in a summary, so a couple of years ago, I think it was February of 2015, the Senate passed a bill mandating funding for cybersecurity specialists because it's becoming more and more prevalent in our society, as you may know. So they awarded various schools that have qualified for various reasons. Our school qualified. So they've awarded us over $4 million to date to educate computer science and computer engineering students to become cybersecurity specialists during 2011 to 2020. So we're co-sponsored by Department of Homeland Security, but it's actually a National Science Foundation scholarship. So it's going to provide up to 3 years of financial assistance in return for a commitment to serve a federal agency. Now, a better name for this would be like Scholarship for Job Service, because it's not like servitude. You're getting paid for it, so you get a job afterwards. All right, you can go next slide. All right, so these are the benefits that you might be interested in. So tuition and fees paid in full for the 2 to 3 or 1 to 2 to 3 years that you're a part of it. You get an annual stipend, undergraduate $22,500, and graduate for $34,000. And no, this is not all at once; they are monthly installments. You get an annual textbook allowance of $2,000, registration fees for the annual SFS Symposium Job Fair. That's in Washington, D.C. So anyone who's an agency in government that's looking to hire cybersecurity specialists, they gather in the first week of January in Washington, D.C., and you get a paid-for trip to this job fair to get in contact with federal and state agencies to get employed here. You get a professional development allowance, travel, professional certification. This is where payment for the trips comes in, certifications. CompTIA has some security certifications, SANS courses, although those are very expensive. You get a health insurance reimbursement allowance of up to $3,000 per year, and some students may receive a third year of funding to extend their studies from bachelor to master's degree. And this, you qualify for this when you join SFS in your senior year. So you only have 1 more year left to complete your bachelor's degree, and then you could potentially extend 2 years for the master's degree. If you join as a junior and you still have 2 years left, then that doesn't apply. Does that make sense? All right. Next slide. Other benefits, mentoring. So we have a mentoring program. So the students that are like Cameron, that was accepted before I was, they serve as mentors for us noobs that are kind of, in the program. You get a secret lab in Riverside 2002. I don't know if any of you have been there because it's a secret, But access to excellent tools, resources through OPM for job search, site visits, and excellent green long-sleeved shirts for official events and that sort of thing. Requirements. So you maintain a full-time enrollment here. You stay in school with a good academic standing, 3.0 for undergraduates, 3.2 for graduates. Got to receive your degree within 2 years of beginning the scholarship, or 3 years if you join as a senior and you're going to extend to graduate studies. You have to take a federal internship position. Now, it can be state, local, or tribal as well. It says federal here, but it can be other government institutions. Internship position during the summer between your first and second year of scholarship study. If you qualify for SFS and you get accepted and you're only going to be in it for 1 year, you don't have to do the internship. You just get you apply for jobs right away, and some students do that as well. And upon graduating, you're going to work on a full-time basis as an information assurance specialist in a federal, state, local, or tribal government or national labs for up to 2 years or commensurate with the supported time period. All right, so scholarship for service makes sense. Next slide. All right, there are a few additional course requirements for the SFS program. For undergrads, you're going to be taking cryptography, computer forensics, and computer systems attacks and countermeasures. Just 3 extra classes to get a kind of a brief introduction to the world of cybersecurity. If you're a graduate student, you're going to be selecting any 3 of those. They have a few more options there for the graduate students. All right, eligibility criteria here. So United States citizenship is required by a majority of federal state agencies for cybersecurity positions dealing with sensitive information. Must meet established criteria for federal employment and be able to obtain a security clearance if necessary. You have to be enrolled as a CSE or CPE, at least a junior, and again, the GPA requirements. All right, here's the thing you will be interested in. Deadline April 7th. So after spring break, you got a lot of time to gather information if you should so need. Completed application form, official transcripts of everywhere you attended, a 500-word essay about your interest in cybersecurity, 2 recommendation forms, resume, and they highlight here, female and underrepresented students are strongly encouraged to apply. This is a federal scholarship, so there are federal laws that mandate that anytime federal funding is distributed, it has to be distributed equally. So they really encourage female and underrepresented students to apply. And you submit your application to that email address, or by mail, if you like to do that sort of thing, to Scholarship for Service, that address there. Contact information, again, it's that address. It's Riverside 2004. You can contact there for the office hours. And there's the website that our school has for the SFS program, and it is overseen by Professor Arad. Have any of you had Professor Arad, CP 142 or CSE 142? Yeah. So he's the professor that's directing this program for our school. Okay, and recent hiring agencies. So these are places where I believe we have students working here at all these places. So Homeland Security, FBI, Federal Reserve Bank, U.S. Navy SPAWAR, their research division in San Diego, U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, Lawrence Livermore National Lab, Pacific Northwest National Lab, Sandia, MITRE, and Department of Internal Relations of the state of California, and a few more, actually. We have students that are currently employed there. Los Alamos as well, National Lab. And that's it. Cameron will be answering any questions that you guys may have.
Hi. So before we start, before I ask the questions, I just want to mention that you don't have to have cybersecurity experience before you apply. The program will provide you with the experience. When I applied, I had 0 experience. And yeah, so when you apply, you get to serve in an internship in between your first and second year, and that's where you'll get majority of your experience, and that is okay. Yeah, you will be definitely qualified for a full-time job with just that experience. So
all that's necessary is, like in that 500-word essay, is just an interest in cybersecurity. So if you have an interest in cybersecurity and working in cybersecurity for the government, that's all you need to apply. And the other requirements.
Oh yeah. Okay. So are there any questions? Yeah. Okay. Sorry. So he's asking, are the federal internships set up for you when you get into the program, right? Or do you have to go out and look for them yourself? And it's you have to look for it yourself, but there are a lot of resources that will point you to where to look. We have a lot of resources on our Google Share too of where to look for the federal internships. so you're not on your own. But you do have to apply on your own. So you're not just automatically applied to everything. Yeah. Any more? There was another question somewhere.
Another question you guys may not have thought of it, but we got asked in another presentation is, do you have to get a job immediately after you graduate, otherwise you're in trouble? The answer is no. You have an 18-month grace period to find work after you graduate, so it's a lot of time to be working on applying to jobs. And a lot of the jobs you do kind of have to apply early because they involve security clearances. Some agencies are quicker than others with those sorts of things. It varies agency by agency.
Yeah. Yeah, when I first started, other question, sorry. Okay, so he asked how many people applied and how many people get into the program. When I first applied, I think only maybe 6 people applied, and only 4 of us actually made it in. And then come the next year, I'm not sure how many applied, but so 4 people made it in initially, and then they realized 4 is not enough, so they extended the application deadline, and then 4 more people made it in. So we had 8 total for the fall 15 SFS initiates, and then the next year, the next batch is when Eric came.
We had 6 recruits. But I just I spoke with our coordinator, Dr. Rod. They're looking for a lot of people to apply this time. So I mean, it's on the first slide there. We've been awarded $4 million to date. That's quite a bit. I mean, each student, it's not that much. They have plenty of scholarship funds left, so they're looking to expand the program, get more people interested in.
And female students are strongly encouraged to apply because there's only like 3 of us in there right now, and they really need more female students to apply.
CVEs as well. I know a lot of times computer engineering students are like, oh, cybersecurity, that's like software. I'm computer engineering student, so you shouldn't be dissuaded from applying as well. Other questions? When you graduate, the same thing, you have to find a job. Right, it's yes and no. You find it yourself, but yes, there's a lot of assistance given to you. Like every week, or at least once a month, there's an email floating around with like, hey, this job opened up here, and it gets forwarded to all of us, and so you just click on the link and submit your stuff and go apply. Also, there's you don't even need to be a part of SFS to do this, but USAJobs.gov posts all federal jobs related to keywords that you search in. So we use that resource a lot also to find the internships and find the job.
Also, cybercareers.gov also has a lot of internships there too. Any more questions? Okay, thank you.
Sorry, thanks for your time.
So thank you, SFS, for coming in and telling people about that nice opportunity. Now we welcome David for his nice talk on something about web development. Well, we can't spell your last name because you never told us. If you remember when any questions are asked, you two repeat it into the mic, because the mic doesn't. Yes. The room can hear your question. The mic can't hear your question. Can you repeat your question? Hello. Is this mic working? It's not for the room, it's for the recording. Gotcha. The recording does that with
It's close enough. Neat. Okay. Hey guys, thanks for coming out. I know everybody's super busy, knowing that it's midterms week, and I probably could have picked a better week to do this talk. But today we're going to be talking about some of the essential things you need to know to do web development and JavaScript, at least in modern day. So if you want to follow along or read any of the notes, you can go to techtalk.davidjudea.com, and then you can clone the repo and then just follow along. So what we're going to go over today are the common web APIs in modern day browsers. So things like querying elements on the page. So like selecting elements, getting data from those elements, adding event listeners, like being able to tell like, did this element get clicked? And if it got clicked, what can we do from there? How do we go get data and then take that data and go put it on the page? Okay, and then after getting our data, we'll probably have an array. And so we're going to go over array methods, which allow us to iterate over arrays, manipulate them, or like filter out every single index. And then at the very end, we're going to bring it all together with a small little app. Okay, so we're going to be going over a lot with not too much time. So please feel free to ask any questions if I'm going too fast. Okay, so before we get into everything, what I want to talk about is how most people usually approach web development nowadays. Like usually they have their index.html page, like you have your header, like an input, all this. Like you load in your JavaScript files and your CSS, but like most people are limited until they bring in like a library like jQuery or like Angular, and doing things like selecting elements, getting data, putting it on the page is kind of like this black magic box without using jQuery. But really and that's like most of the work you ever do on the web, right? Getting an element, adding an event listener, and putting data on the page. What people don't understand is that it's really simple to do a lot of those things with just native APIs that are in the browser. So what we're going to talk about first is common web APIs. So if you can open up console, which is just Command-Alt-I on your Chrome browser, or Control-Shift-I if you're on Windows. So what we're going to talk about first is Window. Window is essentially the JavaScript runtime environment. It's essentially your global state here. So you can declare a variable here, and window.a will hold that variable, right? And then as we saw right there, window, can you all see that okay? Let me blow it up. Cool. As we saw right there, like there's all these other APIs that are opened up to us, just like given to the browser before we like even executed any other JavaScript code. So like there's things like we can hook up like a gamepad, or we can like window.location .href to get the current address bar. And then since window is global state, like I said before, you don't even have to type window, right? You can do a location.href equal to this. We can even like change the page by doing wow.com. Bam. That'll bring us to Google. What else do we have? We have like history.back, which will bring us back a page, right? We can do history.forward. That's pretty obvious, right? What that'll do? Okay. So the next major API we're going to talk about is document. What document represents here, Jesus. One second. Sure. Okay. What document represents is essentially when the browser takes your index.html page, it parses it top to bottom, right? And so what it essentially does is it creates this thing called a DOM tree. So we have our document, and then the HTML tag is right here, right? And then that forks off into head and body, right here, head, body, and then the header, the paragraph right here, and then the values that contain within it. And then if you've taken like the algorithm course, like if you have a tree, that means we can traverse through it, search through all of the nodes, and then find elements that we want. So with document, we can do document.querySelector, which is what we're going to be using for most of this talk. So if we wanted to get the first input field on this page, it would be this one right here. Here we would just do document.querySelector input. And input is just a tag name in this situation, like this one. So what's nice about being able to select the element is that if like this had a value, I'm David, right? I could do get that input. Let's put it in a variable. Input is equal to this. Input dot value is going to have what? Hi, I'm David. And then even with that, we can like even change that value to I'm David, right? Boom. And then we can do the same thing with document dot query selector. If we wanted to get anything with like a class name or let's see, we have this as an ID. You just do what dot header will get us this header field right here. Bang. And then let's var header. And we can even just get if we wanted to get the information between these two tags, because we selected this one, right? Right, we would just do header.inner text. That'll get us the value, and we just like we did with input, we can just set that value to something. Okay, cool. So then let's say that if we wanted to take this input field, and whenever we change something inside of it, we wanted to set the title to whatever's in the input field. So let's see, just open up this one, refresh the page. Cool. So let's see, let's do just what we did before here, where this is just input, and then var header is equal to selector header, right? And I can do log the header and then log the input, and that should that should give me both of these fields. So now that we have header, we can input. We can add an event listener onto it. So we can say input.on key up is equal to a function that gets called whenever we release a key on the input field, right? So we have a function that will get called. So this will take in an event. An event will hold the value of the key that we pressed. So we can actually even just log this to console right here. Boom, right? Every single key that I press, and then I can even make it just whatever the value is of that input. Boom, boom, boom. Cool. So then let's just make it so that whenever I release a key, header.inner text is equal to input.value. And that should just accomplish what we wanted to do. Right? Cool. Okay. So with all of that, we were able to select an element, get the value from it, and then add an event listener to whenever some event happens. Like this doesn't just have to be on key up, right? Like this could be a bunch of things. This could be like on click. Right? Right click it. There you go. So then let's move on to the next topic. So for the next thing we're going to be talking about is how do we do HTTP requests in modern day browsers. Actually, it's better just look at this one instead of the notes. So this is going to be like a brief history on how we used to do HTTP requests in the browser. Like 5-7 years ago, we used to use this thing natively called XML HTTP requests, and it really had this convoluted way of doing making requests. But then why it was so bad is because it was implemented differently across like every single browser, like IE, Firefox, Chrome. Like none of them implemented this thing in the exact same way. So the reason why jQuery was so prevalent over the past 5-7 years is because like all these browsers were doing stuff differently, and as a developer, you just want to write code once, right? And it works across every single browser. And that was the appeal of jQuery. jQuery was saying like, okay, this person wants to do an HTTP request. All right, let me check which browser they have, and then follow the standards correctly so that I can have a successful request, right? So essentially what all of these things do are the same. Accomplish the same goal. And with the introduction of 2016 and new standards, now we use something called fetch. And I'm not really going to get into too much of the details of it because it's essentially the same thing we did here with Ajax. We're just like calling an API, and then once we get the API, the data from it, then just log it. Let's see. So if we just run this code here, boom, and we go to our page, reload. We should just, I have a server running in the background here that's just serving up this Chipotle menu. Okay. There was other stuff I wanted to talk about, but for the sake of time, we're just gonna move past this fetch API discussion. So now that we know that we got a response, right? We have this array, and it's very rarely that the array that you have is exactly what you wanted. Like most of the time you want to like iterate over this array or like change every index of it or like filter through this entire thing. So I just took that response I got from, why is that? Clear this. Clear that. So this is the exact same thing I got from that HTTP request. It's just a giant array of all of the items that are on a Chipotle menu, right? So like how do most people like iterate over this array, right? Most people just think like, oh, let's just make a for loop, like var I is equal to 0, right? So let's make a function called get all names, and it takes in the menu. And then what we're gonna do, we just want to create an array that holds all of the names, all of these name properties. Okay, so we're gonna have a variable called names equal to an array. That's what we're gonna push all of our data to. Var menu item is what we're gonna store it to in the for loop. So most people would do what? Var I is equal to 0, while I is less than menu dot length I plus plus. And then from here we just do like menu item is equal to menu I, and then what would be names, and we would do names dot push menu item dot name, right? So var names is equal to get all names, give it the sweet Chipotle menu, and then just log the names. Oh god. I gave it. Huh? Thank you, Matt. Return names. Bang. Cool. Whew. I'm moving kind of fast. Is everybody with me right now? Okay, cool. So let's see here. But like, if we're doing this that often in web development, like you really shouldn't have to like create a function that's gonna like create this like traditional for loop, and it's just gonna like then it's just gonna output what all the names of these items. What we should be able to do is just use methods on arrays. So the first one we're gonna talk about is for each. So for menu, since menu is an array, we're expecting it to be an array. We can do for each and give it a function to apply to every single item, every single index of that array. So this is going to be item. We want to what? Let's see. So item is just going to be one of these. Item is just going to be one of these rows, right? So we're just going to do names dot push item dot name. That means we don't even need this anymore, right? That should still do the exact same thing. Cool. Made sense? So now let's do it without even having to like create this function, right? So we want to take every single index of this array and then just literally replace every single index with just name, right? So what we're going to use is this array method called map. What map does is essentially what I just said, is that it replaces every single index of an array with the value that you return. So var names is equal to, we can take the Chipotle menu dot map, takes in a function for every single item, and we're going to just return whatever we want to replace that current index with. So we could just do item.name, and then that should give us the exact same thing. Perfect. Okay, cool. Let's see. Maybe. Okay, last thing we're going to go over is the filter array method, which is essentially we can iterate over this entire array and then only keep items in that array that meet a certain requirement. So let's say that we only want all of the items on the menu that are cheaper than $6.80. So let's make another variable that's going to store our array called, we'll just call it affordable, equal to Chipotle menu dot filter function item. So this is what this has to return, is a Boolean function. So if this returns true for this current item, we're going to keep it in the array. If it returns false, just throw it out, right? So if the item price is less than equal to $6.80, keep it in the array. Boom. Bang. Okay. So that's every item that was less than $6.80. And then if we want to just get the name of all of that, we can just use what we did up here, where we just map over every single index and then just pull out the name of it, right? We could do affordable.map, affordable.map function item, and then just return item.name. And that'll just give us the array. Oops. Okay. Need to reset this. Boom. Affordable. Save. Bang. Cool. So what we've covered so far is what? Selecting elements on the page, getting data, and then iterating over all of that data, like filtering it out, etc. Okay, so now we're going to get on to the last part of this talk, which is just bringing all of those different pieces together to make this small little app. So this is essentially our startup, right? We're gonna what we're going to do is we're going to take, if you've used Reddit, there's subreddits, and we're going to take every single post in a subreddit, and if it's an image, then we'll just paste it onto the page. Okay. So if any of you don't know, if you go to like r.aw, you'll get all of these like cute little animal pictures. But if you do aw.json, you'll just get you'll just get all of the information you need about every single post on this subreddit. So that's essentially what we're going to do. We're going to get all of the posts, iterate over every single post, check whether that post has an image or not, and if it has an image, keep it, and then we're going to use that URL that it has, and then just like put it on the page as an image. So let's go here. Boom. We'll bring up here. This is This is the HTML for this page right here, and then we have the JavaScript code. Open up. You can open up console here. We already have our input and our container selected. So input is this field, and then our container is what's going to hold all of our images. So we want to make it so that when I do if I press enter on this field, right, we're going to make a request to this this endpoint, raw.json, or whatever subreddit that we put inside of this text field. It could be like me IRL, stuff like that. So we want to do input.on key press, well, actually key down, equal to a function that took an event. And so we're going to say if that event dot key is equal to enter, then we're going to just go fetch all of the information in our API URL. So we have to make that API URL is going to be equal to s// plus whatever is inside of the input field, right? Input dot value plus dot JSON. Let's just make sure that that API URL is correct. So if I hit enter on this page, bang, cool, and I click it, it'll bring us to the data. Awesome. Okay, so we're going to go fetch that API URL. This is a little, you don't need to understand this part, honestly. Because like really every single time you do like an AJAX request or something, like you always Google it, right? And then you just like copy and paste it off of some page. Like I've never, I've made a career off of like Stack Overflowing, literally like every single problem I've ever had. Okay, exposed. So we're making the call, and then this is our data. I just like kind of like drop this arrow function thing on you guys right here, but this is essentially doing this data arrow brackets is essentially equivalent to just doing function data boom that. Oh my god, that. Okay. So let's just make sure that that works. JSON that needs to be executed. Bang. Okay. Cool. So we got a response from the server, and then like the problem that I have with the way that Reddit gives us this JSON is that it's just this giant like it's this giant mess of like data. To get the post, we need to do data.child, and then all of these children are objects, which what we really want is data inside of here to get the URL, and yeah, that's about it. So we have a little bit of cleaning up to do, but we can do that really easily with a lot of the array methods that we just learned. So I know that I want to get all of these children inside of this array right here. So we're just going to call children var children is equal to, I got this object is essentially, this whole page right here is essentially just data. So we want to go data.data dot children, and that should give us everything inside of this array right here. Down. Boop, boop. Save. Refresh. Cool. Now we have an object. There's an array of objects, but then what do I want? I really only want this data object from each one too. So then we're going to, and then we'll just call that var posts is equal to children dot map function post return post dot data, which is just going to be this. So each post is one of these indexes, so 0, 1, 2, and we just want the data part of it. So we're just going to go dot data. Do that. Post. Refresh. Bang. Bang. Cool. So now that we have every single post, we just have to access what? The URL on it. And check if it ends with .jpeg. That's not a JPEG. So, hi Matt. So let's just get all of the JPEGs, which would be posts dot. What are we gonna do? We're gonna filter over this entire array that we just got back from posts, and we're going to check post. No, function post. If return if post.url includes JPEG. Okay. Let's just check again that all of that worked. Oops. Bang, bang, and then that URL, surely enough, ends in JPEG. Cool. I'm just so popular with emails. Oh my god. Okay. So now we have all of the JPEGs. Now we just need to put them on the screen, right? So let's just take, so JPEGs dot for each JPEG, we're going to just, actually, let's see. Let's just take JPEGs and turn them into a bunch of images, right? Image tags is what I'm talking about. So like images where the source is equal to that URL, right? Boom. Okay. So we're going to map over it, replace every single index of it with an image tag. So map function takes a function, JPEG, right? For every JPEG, we want to just return a image where the source is equal to. This is a little advanced syntax here, but just follow along. .url. Okay, and then what we're trying to put it out into is that container that we declared up here. So we're just going to do container dot inner text HTML actually is equal to, let's see, make a variable called images equal to images dot join. What essentially is that this is a giant array of a bunch of images, right? So let's say I have an array called 1, 2, 3, right? If I wanted to just make this array into a string and just like bring them all together, I would just do array.join, and it would just give me a string back. Like I could do that with, hopefully that's understandable. And I'm going to hope that this just, wait, I need to add a class to this called tile. Cool. Please. No. The array r dot container dot inner HTML images dot join. Let's just log images dot join on that. See what's the problem here. Do-do. Image, class tile, source is equal to. Didn't close it? I didn't close it. So, refresh. Did it work? Oh no. It's all falling apart. Inside this string. Oh, maybe I don't even. Oh. Thank you, Isaac. Yes. Sick. Okay. So we could just do it for like, what's another image? Think memes. What else? And yeah. So, we kind of just like, whoosh, like blaze through a lot of stuff, and I think it might have gone over some people's heads, but hopefully you were able to follow along and potentially learn something new. So, are there any questions? Okay, cool. Thanks, guys.
That's the end of the general meeting for this week.